something is reaching its breaking point. And if you have been sensing that life has been holding back a conversation, a confession, or an answer you have desperately needed, trust that what you have been feeling has not been your imagination. The moment you believe might never come is finally stepping into the present, and today carries a kind of timing that feels almost impossible to dismiss. For what has seemed like an endless stretch of days, the sky itself has appeared to pause before speaking. Words remain trapped behind hesitation, heartfelt messages stayed unwritten, and meaningful conversations never seem to move beyond possibility. Perhaps you have noticed the strange weight resting inside your chest, the feeling that something essential has wanted to emerge, but never quite found a path into the open. Perhaps there has been an answer you longed to receive, yet every attempt to find clarity dissolved into more uncertainty. That season of suspended emotion is reaching its conclusion. Today, on July 24th, Mercury forms an extraordinarily precise sextile with Venus, creating an alignment that begins unlocking everything that has remained hidden beneath the surface since late June. This is far more significant than an ordinary, harmonious planetary aspect. It is the rare meeting place where thought and feeling finally recognize one another, where emotions that have struggled to express themselves suddenly discover language capable of carrying their truth. For 3 zodiac signs especially, this alignment represents far more than emotional relief. It carries the possibility of receiving a message of love that changes the direction of an entire relationship and perhaps even reshapes the future they believed was already decided. Yet there is an even deeper layer hidden beneath this moment, one that many people will overlook completely. There is a profound reason why this communication arrives on this exact day and at this exact degree. An understanding that hidden timing could become the difference between embracing one of the most meaningful conversations of the entire year or allowing it to quietly disappear before it ever fully unfolds. Later, the remarkable precision behind today's celestial design will become much clearer because every detail matters more than it first appears. If you have recently felt as though your own thoughts have been trapped inside thick water, unable to move freely, circling the same questions without reaching certainty, continue paying close attention. There is a very specific astrological explanation for why your mind has seemed unusually slow, uncertain, and emotionally tangled during the past 3 weeks, and today marks the beginning of a completely different experience. Before that transformation can truly make sense, however, it is important to understand everything that has been quietly developing beneath the surface. None of what is happening now appeared without preparation. The silence itself was never meaningless. It was gradually gathering strength until the exact moment it could no longer remain contained. Many people misunderstand silence because they imagine it represents emptiness. But true silence rarely means nothing is happening. More often, silence becomes concentrated emotional pressure. It is every unspoken truth pressing harder and harder against invisible walls while waiting for the precise instant when those walls can finally give way. That has been the deeper story of July. Ever since June 29th, Mercury, the planet responsible for communication, thinking, language, memory, and every conversation that shapes human connection, has been traveling backward through Cancer. For nearly 4 weeks, Mercury has remained retrograde inside the zodiac's most emotionally receptive and deeply protective sign. During that entire period, your internal landscape has likely felt louder than anything occurring around you in the outside world. You may have noticed forgotten memories returning without invitation, appearing at random moments with surprising emotional force. Familiar names may have entered your thoughts repeatedly for reasons you could not explain. Interactions with people you genuinely care about may have created the frustrating sensation that both of you were trying to understand each other while somehow speaking completely different emotional languages. Everything almost connected, yet somehow remained just beyond reach. It may have seemed like relationships were malfunctioning, But what you were actually experiencing was preparation taking place beneath the surface. Mercury moving backward through Cancer does much more than create misunderstandings or delayed communication. It guides awareness downward into places most people avoid visiting. It uncovers emotional records you believed had already been filed away forever. It reopens memories connected to former relationships, unfinished conversations, words never spoken aloud, and emotional attachments that were hidden because facing them once felt overwhelming or unsafe. Whether you welcomed that process or resisted it, those buried experiences continued rising until they demanded to be acknowledged. Hidden inside that emotional turbulence was an extraordinary moment that many people barely noticed, even though it contained remarkable clarity. In the middle of all the uncertainty, there was one brief window when everything became astonishingly understandable. That moment arrived on July 12th. While Mercury continued moving retrograde, it formed an exact conjunction with the Sun at the 20th degree of Cancer. Within traditional astrology, this event is known as a kazimi, an ancient Arabic expression meaning in the heart of the sun. Astrologers have long understood that when a planet enters the heart of the sun, it is not destroyed by overwhelming light. Instead, it undergoes purification. Its essential nature becomes refined from the deepest level outward. During that brief period on July 12th, the emotional fog temporarily disappeared. A realization emerged with unusual certainty. Perhaps it reached you while performing an ordinary daily task, while washing dishes, driving through familiar streets, or lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning when the world felt completely still. Perhaps it arrived not as words, but as a feeling so unmistakably true that it startled you. In that instant, you understood something important about your emotional needs, about the person your heart continued returning to, or about the changes required before genuine safety and closeness could exist again. Yet there was a painful contradiction woven into that experience. Mercury had not yet completed its retrograde journey. The truth became visible, but it could not yet become action. The realization remained alive inside you, glowing quietly with undeniable certainty, while circumstances refused to provide the opportunity to fully express it, leaving that understanding waiting patiently for the moment when both your heart and your voice would finally be able to move together. There are moments in life when the truth already exists inside you, long before your voice is capable of carrying it into the world. You recognize exactly what your heart wants to say, yet every attempt to express it feels premature, as though an invisible force keeps asking you to wait a little longer. That has been the emotional reality for many people during the past several weeks. You have carried realizations that refused to disappear, insights that continued echoing through your thoughts, and feelings that became impossible to ignore, yet the right opening never seemed to appear. Instead of speaking, you remained patient. Instead of forcing clarity, you allowed yourself to sit with uncertainty. Instead of chasing answers before they were ready, you quietly protected what was growing within you. What may have felt like frustrating delay was actually preparing you for the exact moment when everything could finally be expressed with confidence. That moment arrives today. Yesterday, on July 23rd, Mercury completed one of the most significant turning points of its recent journey by stationing direct. After spending 24 days moving backward through the sky, the planet that governs communication, thought, language, memory, and understanding came to a complete standstill at the 16th degree of Cancer before beginning its forward motion once again. In astrology, that instant of complete stillness is never ordinary. It represents a powerful threshold where movement temporarily disappears before a completely different direction begins. It resembles the deep breath drawn just before someone finally speaks the words they have rehearsed in silence for weeks. It is the quiet space that exists before the first sentence changes everything. Then today, at 10:12 in the afternoon, Mercury, now moving forward with renewed purpose and remarkable precision, forms an exact sextile, a harmonious 60-degree aspect that creates genuine opportunity, with Venus traveling through Virgo. This is one of those celestial conversations whose importance extends far beyond what most people realize. Mercury is not approaching Venus empty-handed. It carries everything it gathered throughout its retrograde passage. Every emotional discovery uncovered while moving backward through Cancer. Every realization illuminated during the powerful Kazimi. Every truth that remained trapped beneath hesitation. And every feeling that has been pressing against your heart without finding language has now been collected into one focused current of energy. Mercury arrives, carrying all of that emotional weight directly toward Venus, the planet associated with love, attraction, relationships, affection, beauty, and the qualities you genuinely value in another human being. Yet the nature of Venus's placement changes everything about how this encounter unfolds. Venus is traveling through Virgo, and Virgo refuses to settle for vague emotions or beautiful words that lack substance. Virgo searches for evidence. Virgo wants honesty demonstrated through action rather than promises. It asks whether intentions can survive everyday reality. It values consistency over performance, sincerity over fantasy, and meaningful commitment over temporary excitement. Because of that, when Mercury delivers the emotional truths collected during its retrograde directly into Venus's practical wisdom, the result becomes something far more lasting than sentimental romance. This is the kind of exchange where words finally carry undeniable weight because they are supported by genuine understanding. It becomes the conversation that removes confusion instead of creating it. It becomes the message that is remembered because every sentence feels authentic. It becomes the moment when two people stop guessing what the other feels and begin recognizing the truth standing clearly between them. There is another remarkable detail woven into today's astrology that makes this alignment even more extraordinary. Mercury stations direct at precisely the same degree, and at the exact minute of arc where it originally entered its shadow phase on June 12th. Astrologically, that means the conversations, decisions, realizations, and emotional developments emerging today are directly connected to whatever first began unfolding approximately 6 weeks ago. What once appeared incomplete now finds its conclusion. Questions that remained unanswered begin receiving responses. Emotional cycles that refuse to end finally arrive at resolution. This is not coincidence. It is the completion of a carefully unfolding process whose timing has been unfolding with extraordinary precision from the very beginning. Naturally, every zodiac sign will experience some version of this energetic shift, but not every sign will encounter it with equal intensity. There are 3 signs standing directly within the strongest current of this alignment, and for them, the effects will be impossible to overlook. Virgo, this chapter belongs especially to you, and the universe is asking you to pay close attention because the energy surrounding you is becoming impossible for others to ignore. Venus has been moving through your sign ever since July 9th, gradually transforming the way people perceive your presence. Without demanding attention, you have been quietly becoming more noticeable. There is a softer confidence surrounding you, an understated warmth that draws people closer even when you are not trying to impress anyone. Perhaps you have already sensed subtle changes during everyday interactions. Maybe strangers have held eye contact a little longer than usual. Maybe conversations have carried unexpected depth, or perhaps people have seemed unusually interested in your thoughts, your perspective, or simply being around you. These experiences are not random. They reflect Venus traveling through your first house, gently amplifying the qualities that naturally make you attractive beyond physical appearance. Yet today introduces an entirely different level of significance. Mercury, your ruling planet, has just stationed direct inside your 11th house, the area connected with friendships, communities, social networks, long-term dreams, and the people who help shape your future. Immediately after turning forward, Mercury forms that exact sextile, with Venus standing powerfully in your own sign. During the past several weeks, you may have questioned the value of your relationships more deeply than usual. You may have wondered whether your friends genuinely recognize who you are beneath your responsibilities and reliability. You may have asked yourself whether the people surrounding you truly appreciate your heart or simply depend upon the version of you that always gives without asking for much in return. Perhaps another quiet question has followed you even more persistently. Have your expectations become unrealistic? Have your standards become too high? Would life become easier if you accepted less than what your heart genuinely desires? Today's alignment answers those doubts with remarkable clarity. The answer is no. You were never asking for too much. You were simply refusing to settle for connections that failed to resonate with your authentic emotional frequency. The message of love arriving for you today is likely to emerge through your social world, through friendships, shared communities, professional circles, or everyday interactions that initially appear ordinary. Someone you have known for quite some time may suddenly reveal feelings that neither of you fully acknowledged before. A new acquaintance introduced through mutual friends or a familiar environment may immediately create a sense of meaningful recognition that feels difficult to explain. It is also entirely possible that romance will not announce itself immediately. Instead, someone may first recognize the intelligence you quietly carry, the discipline you consistently demonstrate, or the emotional depth hidden beneath your calm exterior. And they may finally find exactly the right words to tell you what they have been seeing all along. There are rare moments when the universe asks you to stop questioning every signal that reaches your heart. Today is one of those moments. If someone chooses to speak honestly to you, resist the temptation to dissect every sentence, search for hidden meanings, or convince yourself that their intentions must be more complicated than they appear. The energy surrounding this day supports honesty in a way that has been missing for weeks. The words placed in front of you are not disguises for something else. They carry exactly the meaning they were meant to deliver. Allow yourself, perhaps for the first time in a long while, to receive someone's sincerity without immediately protecting yourself from it. This is not the day to hide behind analysis or caution. This is the day to let truth arrive exactly as it was intended. If you have spent recent weeks withdrawing into familiar routines, declining invitations, or convincing yourself that staying invisible somehow feels safer, the cosmic atmosphere is asking you to make a different choice. Step into the places where life is happening. Accept the invitation that you nearly ignored. Update the profile you have been meaning to refresh. Walk into the gathering you almost decided to skip. The opportunities looking for you cannot reach you if you remain hidden from the world. Virgo, this message belongs to you because the universe has been quietly positioning you for this encounter throughout the entire month. Ever since Venus entered your sign on July 9th, your presence has been changing in subtle but undeniable ways. Without demanding attention, you've begun attracting it naturally. People notice something about you that is difficult to explain. Perhaps it is your calm confidence, your thoughtful nature, or the quiet strength that has always existed beneath your composed exterior. Whatever it is, others are responding to it more strongly now than before. Today's alignment transforms that quiet attraction into meaningful opportunity. Mercury, your ruling planet, has just stationed direct in your 11th house, the part of your chart connected to friendships, communities, future goals, and the people who accompany your journey forward. Immediately after turning direct, Mercury forms its exact sextile with Venus, standing powerfully in your own sign. During the retrograde, you may have questioned whether your friendships truly reflected your worth. You may have wondered whether people appreciated the real version of you or only the dependable role you often play in their lives. Perhaps you even questioned whether your expectations had become unrealistic, wondering if asking for genuine connection meant expecting too much from others. Today's alignment answers those doubts with remarkable certainty. Your standards were never the problem. You simply refused to settle for relationships that could not meet you where your heart already stands. The meaningful connection arriving now is most likely to emerge through your social world. It could develop during a conversation with someone you have known for a long time that unexpectedly reveals an entirely different emotional depth. It may arrive through a mutual friend, a shared community, or an everyday interaction that suddenly feels far more significant than it first appeared. Romance may not even announce itself immediately. Instead, someone could begin by recognizing your intelligence, your dedication, your quiet resilience, or the thoughtful way you move through life, finally putting into words what they have admired for longer than you realized. Do not dismiss that recognition. Let yourself believe what you hear, because today's astrology favors authenticity over confusion. Taurus, another story is unfolding for you, and deep inside, you have probably sensed its arrival before any external sign appeared. Something from your past has been gently calling your attention again and again. It may be a familiar name that unexpectedly returns to your thoughts, a memory that appears with surprising clarity, or an emotional connection that refuses to fade despite your determination to move forward. You have tried to convince yourself that the chapter was finished because that is your nature. You are dependable, patient, and deeply rooted. Once you decide to leave something behind, you rarely look back. Yet this particular connection continues finding its way into your awareness, no matter how firmly you attempt to close the door. There is a clear astrological reason for this experience. Mercury has spent the past 3 weeks retrograding through your third house, the area governing communication, conversations, messages, and nearby connections. Throughout that journey, it has been reopening unfinished dialogue, revisiting words left unsaid, and reconnecting emotional threads that still link your present life to someone from your past. At the same time, Venus, your ruling planet, and the symbol of everything you cherish in love and relationships, has been traveling through your fifth house, the place associated with romance, creativity, happiness, and heartfelt expression. Quietly, almost invisibly, Venus has been preparing the emotional landscape for something capable of bringing genuine joy. Today, as Mercury forms its exact sextile with Venus, that preparation reaches its turning point. For you, Taurus, this message of love is very likely to arrive through reconnection. It could appear as a message from someone whose voice has been absent for a long time. It could unfold through a conversation that resumes with surprising ease, making the passage of time seem almost irrelevant. Or perhaps the realization emerging today is that you are the one meant to begin the conversation, instead of waiting for someone else to take the first step. The protective wall surrounding your heart may suddenly appear less permanent than it once seemed, allowing you to recognize what has quietly remained possible beyond it. Most importantly, Venus traveling through Virgo reminds you that this experience is not inviting you to repeat history. It is asking you to evaluate whether something can genuinely function in the present. Virgo's influence removes fantasy and replaces it with practical truth. If this opportunity appears now, it is because it has the potential to exist within everyday reality, rather than surviving only inside memory. It is built upon who both of you are today, not who you once were. When the message arrives, avoid allowing pride or hesitation to become the obstacle standing between you and an extraordinary possibility. Reply. Meet for coffee. Have the honest conversation. Clear away lingering misunderstandings. The opportunity reaching toward you is not the past attempting to repeat itself. It is the past returning in a form that finally aligns with the person you have grown into. Cancer, your moment carries perhaps the deepest emotional weight of all, because the conversation waiting inside you has become impossible to ignore. Outwardly, you may appear calm, dependable, and completely in control. The people around you may have no idea how much emotional turbulence has been moving beneath the surface. Yet inside, everything has felt unsettled. Mercury has been retrograding through your first house, the very foundation of your identity, your voice, and the way you present yourself to the world. During this retrograde, Every insecurity connected to communication has been magnified. Doubts about whether your feelings matter, whether your needs deserve space, whether your honesty will be misunderstood have echoed repeatedly through your mind until they became exhausting companions. You have likely found yourself analyzing every conversation after it ended, replaying each sentence, studying every silence, every facial expression, every shift in another person's tone, hoping to discover certainty where only uncertainty seemed to exist. The emotional effort required to maintain that level of vigilance has quietly drained your energy. The most difficult part is that your heart already knows exactly what must be said. Since the Mercury chasm on July 12th, when Mercury aligned precisely with the Sun at the 20th degree of Cancer and entered the heart of the Sun, a profound realization has been living inside you. You already know which conversation cannot be postponed any longer. You know the boundary that deserves to exist. You know the question that needs an honest answer. Yet each time you approach that moment, fear gently pulled you backward. Fear whispered that your emotions might overwhelm someone else. Fear suggested that your honesty would be misunderstood. Fear encouraged you to retreat into the familiar protection of your shell instead of risking vulnerability. Today, that pattern begins to change. Mercury has turned direct, and its exact sextile with Venus creates the emotional clarity and practical support needed for your voice to finally carry the truth your heart has protected for so long. The conversation you have been postponing is no longer asking for perfect conditions. It is asking only for courage. Your feelings are not too much. Your needs are not unreasonable. Your honesty is not a burden. The words waiting inside you have been preparing for this exact moment. And today, the universe offers the first genuine opening to let them finally be heard. Cancer, the moment you have been quietly preparing for is no longer waiting somewhere in the future. It has arrived. For weeks, your heart has been carrying words that refused to leave your lips, not because they were untrue, but because they needed the right moment to be heard. That moment is unfolding now. The protective walls you have relied on for so long are no longer separating you from pain. They are separating you from the connection your soul has been asking for. Today, those walls begin to soften, not because you have become weaker, but because you have become stronger than the fear that built them. Mercury has now stationed direct in your first house, the place that governs your identity, your voice, and the way you express your authentic self. Almost immediately, it forms a precise sextile with Venus moving through your third house of communication. This is not simply an opportunity to speak. It is an opportunity to communicate with a level of clarity that has been unavailable until now. The thoughts that once felt tangled become organized. The emotions that once overwhelmed you suddenly find language that feels natural and unmistakably true. Instead of speaking from old wounds, you begin speaking from self-awareness. Instead of defending yourself, you simply reveal yourself. That difference changes everything. The words that emerge today possess a rare balance. They carry honesty without becoming harsh. They reveal vulnerability without surrendering your strength. They communicate your needs with quiet confidence, leaving little room for misunderstanding or emotional confusion. For Cancer, the most important message connected to this transit is not one that unexpectedly arrives from someone else. It is the message you finally choose to give. More remarkable still is the response waiting on the other side. Venus traveling through Virgo creates an atmosphere where practical understanding replaces emotional chaos. Rather than meeting your honesty with avoidance, criticism, or unnecessary conflict, the person receiving your words is far more likely to respond with genuine willingness to understand. Instead of creating distance, the conversation opens space for solutions. Instead of escalating tension, it encourages cooperation. You may hear words that immediately calm your heart, words that acknowledge your feelings and ask how both of you can move forward together. The discussion you have postponed for so long no longer needs another reason to wait. It belongs to today. not because everything has suddenly become perfect, but because you have already completed the emotional work required to face it. Throughout the past month, the cosmos has quietly prepared you for this exact conversation. Every moment of reflection, every emotional realization, every period of uncertainty has been guiding you toward this opening. There is one additional piece of guidance that deserves your attention. Before having this conversation, create an environment that naturally encourages emotional safety. Prepare a meal together. Share a warm cup of tea. Sit somewhere peaceful where both of you can breathe without distraction. Cancer, your greatest strength has always been your ability to create emotional shelter for the people you love. Today, that gift becomes one of the most important parts of this healing process. The atmosphere you create will support the truth you finally choose to express, making it easier for honesty to be received with compassion instead of resistance. Once that truth enters the room, everything begins changing in ways that cannot easily be reversed. It is also important to understand that this opportunity is temporary. I want to be completely honest with you because the timing matters. The extraordinary harmony created today between Mercury and Venus, the meeting of emotional intelligence and practical love, is not designed to remain open indefinitely. A sextile represents active opportunity in astrology. It unlocks a doorway, but it never forces anyone to walk through it. That decision always belongs to you. Time is especially significant because only 3 days after this deeply healing alignment, on July 27th, the Sun forms an exact opposition with Pluto. Sun and Pluto oppositions carry an entirely different emotional atmosphere. They expose struggles over control, challenge personal pride, intensify unresolved conflicts, and reveal weaknesses inside relationships that have not been built upon honesty. This is why today's astrology carries so much importance. The universe is not simply offering a pleasant emotional experience on July 24th, it is providing a period of preparation before a far more demanding test arrives. Every honest conversation you choose to have today, every hidden feeling you finally express, every misunderstanding you resolve, and every boundary you establish becomes part of the emotional foundation that will support your relationships when Pluto begins exposing what cannot remain hidden. Those who embrace today's opportunity are far more likely to enter the closing days of July with stronger partnerships, deeper trust, and relationships capable of withstanding pressure because they have already been strengthened through honesty. Those who postpone these conversations once again, convincing themselves that another opportunity will eventually appear, risk entering the Sun-Pluto opposition carrying unresolved emotions that become far more difficult to manage. Under Pluto's influence, avoidance rarely remains hidden for long. This has always been about far more than a single planetary transit. It represents a threshold separating one emotional chapter from another. Everything that has defined July, the silence, the uncertainty, the emotional confusion, the misunderstandings, the conversations that remain trapped inside your heart, has been gradually leading toward this single point of release. Adding even greater significance to this moment, the lunar nodes also begin shifting. On July 27th, the North Node enters Aquarius, drawing the collective into an entirely new 18-month cycle of growth and evolution. The relationship patterns you establish today do not disappear tomorrow. The agreements you create, the boundaries you finally communicate, the love you become willing to receive, and the honesty you allow yourself to express become the foundation supporting you throughout that entire evolutionary cycle. This is not the time to remain on the sidelines. Do not convince yourself that this message belongs to someone else. Perhaps you have been carrying words that never found their voice. Perhaps there is someone you have wanted to speak with for weeks, but fear kept delaying the moment. Perhaps an unfinished message has remained saved on your phone while you waited for courage to arrive. Today, the universe removes the obstacles standing between your heart and your voice. The silence has already completed its purpose. It revealed what truly deserves your attention. It revealed the people who genuinely matter. It revealed what your heart continues asking for after every distraction has faded away. Now the next step belongs entirely to you. Mercury has resumed its forward motion. Venus stands ready to receive sincerity with understanding. The truth you have been protecting no longer needs to remain hidden. It has been waiting patiently for this exact opportunity. Everything that still remains unwritten, unspoken, or unfinished now depends upon one simple decision: your willingness to speak. Today, the silence finally gives way to truth. When that happens, the life waiting beyond this conversation will not change simply because the planets aligned in the sky. It will change because you found the courage to express what your heart has known all along. Few moments in life carry greater power than that. Thank you for spending this time with me and sharing this journey through today's extraordinary astrology. If this message resonated with you and you would like to continue exploring the deeper meaning behind these cosmic movements together, I would truly appreciate your support by subscribing to the channel. I would also love to hear your experiences, your reflections, or the conversations that this message inspired in the comments below. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself and remember to subscribe for more meaningful astrological insights.